obviously, the lesson is pretty clear there, but it's interesting because we watch the kids, and I'll use Johnny as my example over here, even though he got to 20, which was great. There was at one point where he goes, "My pen doesn't work anymore." Right? And when we splash the water on the kids, you know, it's like this freak out. Oh my God, what is that? Where's it coming from? And they're distracted for so many minutes. So I think a great lesson in sports and life and leadership is, how are you dealing with that distraction? Because they're going to come. I mean, this is obviously an environment we've created, but in life they're going to come. And how you're dealing with that is essential to how your team does, how you do individually. I mean, how many times, I'll use soccer as an example, on the soccer field, something goes wrong, or a player says something to you, or you miss a shot, and you go into this downward spiral of, oh my God, here we go again, I'm having one of those days, or I'm terrible today, or my touch is off, or whatever it is. And that type of reaction, being able to snap out of it and deal with that adversity or that setback or whatever it is so critical to that next phase of helping your team. And so it's just a great example of, and you can see our numbers. You know, we had half the group raise their hand on 20s before. I'd say we had 2 or 3 only with that second group. So dealing with adversity and distractions and being able to somehow in the middle of it find strategies that work for you. And everyone's different. I mean, that's one thing, a great lesson I learned on the national team, and which will be a segue into the leadership talk, is that everyone deals with things so differently, and finding what works for you is going to be the formula. You know, I and Mia dealt with distractions in a much different way, or our approach to the game in a much different way, which I'll talk about. But, you know, talking to kids about, through trial and error, learning, you know, this is my best way of focusing. When something like that happens, I used to actually wear in a soccer game, I used to wear a little extra headband like this. And I'd be in the middle of a game, and if something set me off like that, a distraction, I used to actually snap myself on the arm to say, like, snap out of it and get back going. Because we had a sports psychologist that worked with the national team, who actually, we've done this exercise on the national team, who said this really profound thing that's so simple, is that you can only have one thought in your brain at a time. I'm like, no. She's like, yeah. So decide what thought it is you want to put in there and control that. The greatest experience I had is I got to watch for 18 years these incredible women that, not just as athletes, but as people and leaders. And that was the most important thing to me, because I learned so much. And one of the biggest takeaways was that, and I grew up in Southern California. You know, I'm 37 years old, and I grew up watching a lot of male sports. I grew up thinking, you know, leaders are this mold. If I read a history book, this is what a leader should look like. You should be really strong, and you should be a president of a company, or have some important title, or you should be wearing a captain's armband. And it wasn't until I met all these great women on the national team that I realized that leadership comes in so many different forms. And that's the message we don't get across to kids enough, that gets lost. Because we get so many kids that come to this academy, and what we do is we use soccer to teach them a lot of the things like we talked about on the field, about overcoming mistakes and setbacks and so forth, and having them apply that to their life. And the biggest thing is this myth that, you know, you got to fit this mold to make a difference in life, that you have to have money and power and a title to actually make a difference in life. And so, you know, for example, I actually did wear the captain's armband for many years, but watching someone like Mia Hamm, who wasn't vocal in terms of, she wasn't blessed like I have been blessed with great vocal cords. So she wasn't going to be the one on the field that, you know, was rah, screaming at you and rallying you verbally. I mean, she'd try and get a hold of me on the field and be like, Julie! And I would be like, stop it. You're hurting me by hearing you do that. Your vocal cords must be dying. So her style was, and I saw her do it all the time, she'd grab someone to the side, knowing that that wasn't her strength. She'd grab someone to the side and say, this was awesome. you know, Abby Wambach, the younger version of Mia in terms of being a great goal scorer and superstar on the team. This was awesome, but you know, think about this. We're playing too close together, or think about these runs, or we're making the same runs, or grabbing a forward on the bench saying, hey, can you watch this for us? Because I don't think we're doing this well. And so she did it in a more one-on-one manner. Joy Fawcett played on the national team for 17, 18 years as well. She didn't talk for the first 15 years she was on the team, right? We'd be like, what is wrong with you? Do you talk? You know, we used to joke her all the time. She'd have her book on the bus, and she was just this really mellow personality. She raised 3 kids while playing with us, so you know, she'd constantly have her kids, but she wasn't this real vocal one. She became my co-captain for the last quad we played, so between the 2000 and 2004 Olympics. And kids are like, what? You know, how could she be a co-captain? And the reason is she was one of the best problem solvers and people person I have ever seen. Because what she would do, she anchored our back line. She was the center back. So she, like Mia, would grab the back line and say, in quiet moments, hey, this is working well. This is great. This isn't so great. And because she didn't say a lot of words, all of a sudden the players, whenever she spoke, they would listen. And the coaches noticed that, and the leadership noticed that. And she was so effective that way. And she could problem solve when we do team building stuff all the time. She was like so quick to that stuff. And she became one of the greatest leaders. The current leader on the team, Christy Rampone, was just speaking at our academy last year, and she literally said that, you know, it took me 10 years on the national team before I said my first word, you know, in a group setting. And she goes, once I said my first word, she is now the captain of the team. Once I said my first word and people actually listened, I started talking. And so when we share this with the kids, examples of, you know, leadership comes in so many different forms. And you have to find the most important thing, and that's why we start this bullseye with that center circle, is the self. What is it that works for you? You know, because you don't want to, you definitely want to, Ian's phrase, steal from other people in terms of style and techniques, and you can learn from them. But ultimately, you've got to, with leadership and with, you know, what you're doing on the field, you got to stay true to your style, because that's when people are going to want to follow you, because it's natural to you. So what's your voice? Finding their voice and being comfortable with whatever it is. If you're not the most vocal, if you're one of the more quiet ones, you know, both can be very effective. Then the next ring you'll see is taking that to team. So how are you then taking, you know, what you can do as a leader in terms of, you know, being self-disciplined and working hard and making sure the individual is the best leader they can be. You got to set an example where people want to follow you. And they want to do what you're doing because they respect the decisions you're making, the work rate that you're giving, you know, on the field, off the field, all these decisions you're making. Now, how are you taking that and building a team together? And what's really interesting, and we do, and you can do this on the soccer field, whenever you have an activity where you're keeping score, or, we okay over there? You're keeping score, or you know, anything that is a round robin tournament, and maybe you have a last place team that's struggling, you know, really watch for, you know, what's their reaction. It was one of probably my greatest weaknesses when I played, is I was so competitive that if I was losing, I would get so mad and so angry that I couldn't pull myself out of it and actually pull the rest of the team down. You know, so it's so contagious, your personality. So, and you want to be competitive and you want that drive, but are you doing it in a way that's positive? Are you taking a lot of these things that are happening? If you're going down a goal, are you the one that panics and goes into this spiral about, oh, here we go again, we've been losing the last 3 games, we're going to lose another one? Or do you calm the team? One of the greatest captains we ever had on the national team was Carla Overbeck. She was our center back. And she would sit on that back line, and maybe we'd go down a goal early in the game. She would be this calming voice all the time. We're fine, just stay with it, we're good, we'll get it back. You know, and so that verbal communication, which is another thing we talk about a lot, is, you know, it's hard to be a verbal leader. You know, it's much easier just to lead by example, but actually taking it to the next level of being a verbal leader is hard. And how you do that at the team level is critical, because you don't want to just be verbal where you're snapping orders and you're negative and your tone isn't right. So being a leader that actually lifts the team and being able to calm them when they need that, when you have some setbacks, I think is critical. The next ring is taking it to the school and in the hallways. And so, again, using examples on the field and not just on the field, what we felt was really important and obviously translates and transfers over to the field is, are you making good decisions? Are you making good decisions about what you're eating? Nutrition. I know there's a lot of eating disorders, especially among young girls. Even probably you guys see it as early as the middle school. That's a real issue with athletes. Are you making sure you're giving your body enough energy? Are you giving it the right type of energy? Are you making good decisions that your friends will respect and want to follow about drinking, drugs, sex, whatever it is? We talk about all these things and giving them the confidence to, and again, using soccer a lot of times and finding their voice, to find their voice, to have the confidence to say no. And a really effective exercise for that you guys probably could do either in the classroom or even on the field is we have them do a lot of public speaking. We have them do role playing, but fun public speaking, you know, where we do an exercise where, okay, you're in front of the class and you have 45 seconds to sell this product. And you give them a product like lava lamps, go. So it's like impromptu, they're in front of the group, they gotta think on their feet, make it up. You know, and some of them will be like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And they'll spend their 45 seconds saying, I don't know, which is a great lesson to learn of, okay, think about it, adapt on your feet, be able to adjust, and then talk about it. Because so much of them being able to say no to a situation and make the right decision is just having the confidence to verbalize it. To say, you know what, I got a game tomorrow, I don't want to drink. I'm not drinking. That's not for me, I'm an athlete, or whatever it is. So taking that leadership into the school and the hallways and being a great leader within your school. And then the fourth ring there is community. And I'm a big believer in that our kids need to know more about community service and giving back. And that's such a great form of leadership, by helping others. And so we actually go out into the communities for a day on our fourth day. And we have them spend just a couple hours doing community service. And it's a great way for them, and I'm sure a lot of your schools have this implemented already, but it's a great way for them to learn, and you can do it with the team. It's a great team building and team bonding exercise that it only takes a couple hours, maybe once a month, once every other month, but I can actually change someone's life in those 2 hours, and is extremely powerful. And these kids, you know, at first when they are coming, they're thinking, okay, we got to go do what? And we're not going to be able to play soccer. And, you know, why are we doing this? How does it tie in? And they come back with their teams afterwards and they're buzzing. Because all of a sudden this young kid who thinks, you know, maybe I'm struggling in school, or I'm struggling on my soccer team, and I'm not the most popular, and I'm not cool, and I don't dress the right way, all these things these young kids think about, all of a sudden sees that they created a smile on a young kid's face through a clinic. Or we send them to some at-risk daycare centers where, you know, these kids have nothing, and they come in and they hang out with them for 2 hours, and they've changed, you know, this kid's life for a day. And all of a sudden they're seeing, okay, I can do something, I can make a difference. And the importance and value of that is tremendous. And it's great to get them thinking, like, if I can continue this in my lifetime, which is the biggest challenge, which is why it's the last ring, is how to then transfer that to life. Because I think the hardest thing for them is to carry it through. And I think that's why I'm such a big proponent of sports for not just young girls, but obviously for young boys as well, but especially with young girls, because, you know, for so many years they didn't have a lot of sports. And now you see them, that a lot of these things that they're learning on the soccer field, or they're learning on the basketball court, you know, are making them stronger. And so I think you can obviously relate the two a lot, or as much as you can, to, you know, these are great foundations for life. And especially, you know, making sure that they take these leadership skills and they transfer it into some type of service learning. You know, we encourage our kids to start a project where they're actually initiating some type of leadership project in their community. They actually have to put a budget together, a timeline together for it. And so they're not just leaders where they're talking up leadership, but they're actually doing. We say, we want you leaders of action. Because I think it really is that. I think leadership is simply a choice. And that if we can get these kids out of this misconception that, I have to really come from some type of fancy school, or I have to come from some type of fancy family to make a difference in life, then there is this epiphany that happens, especially with these quiet kids or these awkward kids that are going through a really tough time. They actually feel like there's some hope there for them to do good. And again, I just, I know I'm being repetitive, but I can't stress enough, anytime you get the opportunity on the field to make that connection, I think it's going to help them for the long term. Because, I have so many parents that say, my kid, how did you make it to the Olympics? My kid wants a gold medal. And I'm like, that's great, but is she enjoying it? No, she hates it. I was like, okay, so why are we doing it again? That there's only going to be so many kids that can get to that next level, but if we can teach them in the journey all the value of it, then I just think, naively, this world will be a better place, and we can touch a lot of kids that way. I think that's the real beauty in sports. Also, I just wanted to thank a few people, because I know today wouldn't have happened without them. Number one, Diana and Karen with Cabot, who have been phenomenal. Anything you can do to spread the message to young kids about not just eating their cheese, which we always like, but eating healthy and nutritious and getting their calcium and dairy products is great help. To Champs and Ron for all their help setting up today. And to the Sports Commission. Andy had to take off, but for them helping today. I think, Ian and I, we're always working with younger kids, and we said at lunch today how much fun that was to work with adults and be able to be out there with you today. So we appreciate all you guys, brought on one of your few days off. Sort of day off. And I recommend putting some ice on the legs if you're a little sore. Yeah.